¿Estás listo?
Listo.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Holy Chat. I'm Levi Dugan here with Carlos Ramirez, and we're continuing our peace conversation today. Before we do, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Just type Holy Chat into YouTube, and you'll find us real quick. You can follow us on Spotify or SoundCloud if you just want to listen to the audio and not look at our ugly mugs while we talk. And don't forget to share it around. The whole idea is that we reach people who may have a spiritual bent but aren't necessarily religious, and they just want to learn and grow a little bit in their spiritual life. We're excited to be a part of that journey. So, Carlos, looks like today we've worked our way down from world peace to city peace, and now we have the hardest of all to tackle, peace in one's family. I'm the wrong person to be talking about this, but I guess that's all of us on some level. So here we are. We have this beautiful quote from Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, saying basically, if you want peace in the world, you got to have peace in the nation, peace in the city, peace between neighbors, peace in the home, and then peace in the heart. And so we're kind of at that peace in the home part of this wonderful quote. And when we talk about peace in the home, I have found this to be one of the more challenging things, being a dad, being a husband. Um, it's one thing to behave yourself and be the best version of yourself at work when you're being paid to do it, or when you only have to interact with someone for an hour or two. But when you live with people, this really changes how you let your guard down, and you're probably your most authentic self, both in good ways and bad ways, when you're in your home life, right? Carlos, have you ever had that feeling before?
Oh, all the time. Yes, I think that, I was asked the other day, one time, if you're in front of, of God, let's say, in front of God, and I was asking you, or what would you want God to tell you? And I said that I was a good husband and a good father, and then the rest of it is just icing on the cake, as they say. Yeah, I think it is hard, and I think this thing about family is going to inevitably, I think, be combined or merged or somehow bleeding into peace in the heart, right? I think that one and the other, to me, they are connected, and I'll tell you why. I think that the challenges that I have found more as a father and as a husband, it is because of unresolved issues from my own raising up in my own family dynamics, right? They call it family systems that we have. And there's just things, let's say, unresolved things that I didn't know that they were there until as your children grow up, as they find or as they achieve ages, that when you have some issues, then problems arise or yeah, issues arise. So you have to be on your toes about that.
That's true. And I think, this is where good therapy comes into play sometimes, is reprogramming ourselves from things that we were taught explicitly or implicitly when we were being raised. Sometimes you're raised by family, and you have very positive influence growing up. You learn what it is to be kind or confident or compassionate or strong personally. And other times, most of the people I know in the world have had some negative experiences growing up, even things they don't realize till they get older, whether it's codependent issues, fear of conflict. I know in my family, so my parents are divorced, but they were married when I was young, and they never fought in front of us. Never once saw my parents fight. And so I just thought that was normal, just to never ever fight until you get married. And then you realize that's not true. Actually, when you live with someone full time, you fight quite often, actually, over silly stuff sometimes. And I was so confused. I was like, wait, I thought I thought couples never fought. What is going on? And what I realized is they hid all of their fighting from us, and really set me up for failure in some ways to have that healthy relationship later. What I love about my wife Marty is that she's really taught me how to fight well, and I mean that as a compliment. That I used to say, well, we can't disagree in front of the kids. And she's like, well, no, we have to, because we have to model a healthy marriage that has honest conversations and disagreements, but it doesn't descend into chaos or violence or anything like that. And so, we pick up all this stuff growing up. I don't know if you have some of those experiences too growing up that you carried with you. For me, it was that avoidance of conflict.
I mean, for me, it was the opposite. It was too much conflict and too much drama. So
Mm.
I'm like, okay, I need to be more like, steady as we go and just chill in many ways. But um, there is his last name is Gottman, and he has written a lot about relationships and marriage and families and that kind of thing. And he says exactly what you said, that the people who are couples in this case, and that obviously that will affect families and everything, but couples that it is not that they don't fight, but they just said that they fight well. And
Yeah.
it is, you said, well, it's about communication. It says people can communicate very well and still be very angry at each other. It says, but it is how can you fight well, meaning when couples, when people show contempt to one another, that is when very hardly something can be resolved, right? That when we see somebody as less than and contempt and stonewall, we don't talk and we just do our thing kind of thing, um, then it is very little to salvage in there. So
Yeah.
how can we avoid contempt and build upon um, a relationship? And he would say that the number one thing is to, in case of marriages, and that thing applies to children. I mean, in a way, and to your family dynamics is to um, foster your friendship,
Yeah.
to be friends, and that you enjoy various company. And conflict is gonna be inevitable, fights are gonna be inevitable, but that if we can foster a friendship, regardless of where we are in life, in the conflicts that we face, the friendship is gonna keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I do remember Gottman had like a house picture and hierarchy and talks about that, shared experiences and fondness and admiration for each other, which means, actively trying to participate in each other's lives, even when it maybe isn't your favorite thing to do. I know one thing my wife's really good about is watching shows that she doesn't want to watch because I like to watch them. And I'm very boring. So I'm not watching anything fun. I'm watching Star Trek
Live long and prosper.
or Frasier or these old shows. I used to wonder why my grandparents only ever watched westerns, and now I've become them and I only watch like five shows over and over again. But she's happy to be with me, and she doesn't really care what's on the TV. And so that's a way that she kind of pours into me, and vice versa. I don't always want to talk after 9 o'clock at night. I may not be the most effective listener after 9 o'clock at night, but I am learning that there's a time of night that where she really opens up and wants to talk. And so we do. I mean, and I try to be more intentional about, admiring listening to her and having a fondness for listening to her stories from the day. And one of the things we do, we call it happy hour, but when we both get home from work and the kids are settled, then we intentionally take an hour just with each other, and we might have a cup of coffee or a cup of something else, but we are just with each other and enjoying one another's company. And that goes a long way to building that fondness for one another. You got any other tricks for having peace in the home?
Well, I mean, this may sound silly, but life is busy. If you have children, you know that that is even more the case. And if you have a snow coming your way and you can, trapped. Anyway, all this to say is that there is something always to do, work, children, activities, whatever it is, to foster your time, even schedule time with your, have a date with your wife or your spouse, or your spouse, um, and have a time with your children. So I have Thursdays is my day when I go with my daughter to have a coffee and we don't do much. We just sit and play games in our phones, and but that's our time that we do that. And on Saturdays, I go with my son to play soccer with him, and that's my time with him. And we schedule at least once a month to go, my wife and I, to go on a date. And we just did it on Valentine's Day, which worked out pretty well. So anyway, all to say is that if you can schedule even your fun time, your happy hours, that works out because then it's a habit and just creates a rhythm, memories, funness. It's just and you can hear and listen to wants, dislikes, um, everything, and you just pay attention, in those times. So that's kind of our cheat sheet in many ways that we schedule things. It's in the calendar. It's in the calendar.
Intentionality, right? That's the big key here to any kind of relationship. And I will tell you another thing is shifting from marriage to parenting, or partnerships to parenting, is one of the best ways that I can be a good parent is to manage my life outside of parenting. Not to let work or other family life or other drama invade my space with my children. And that's hard sometimes as a church planter. I find that sometimes I'm not present in the room, even though my body is in the room, because I'm thinking about, something related to the church. And I've caught myself more lately, like, nope, stop, visualize, like batting away that thought, and be present for my kids in this moment. And that's work, and that's intentionality too, right? To work towards presence with your kids and with your partners. But that is a major way to establish a sense of peace in the home, is that your home becomes a place of presence where you're not distracted by the outside world. And that's really hard today because a lot of people are working from home, just like you are right now.
I know. And many people say if you're working from home, that if you can have, I mean, if you can, but some people can't, but if you can have a dedicated space for work and a dedicated space for everything else so that you can literally leave work from that station that you are, and then you are going to do your thing at home. Otherwise, and I know that some people cannot do that because or the conditions where they live in the sense that it's small or there's another place to go and you're stuck. But if you can do that, and even if it's just a chair, even if you just can be said, this is my little chair and this is the work chair, and I'm gonna sit there after work. That thing that would be that's another maybe a hack maybe.
I think
So.
that's right. When my wife works from home every day, and when she first started that job, our office was in our bedroom. And after about a year of that, we just recognized that it was not allowing her to ever turn off from work because it was just always there staring at her. So we moved it to, a separate office space when we moved. And now, as we move into a different home, we're actually building her office into a closet so that we can literally shut the door to it at the end of the day, and that's work and it's gone. And it took a while though to get there, and so if there is a way for you to physically shut out your work when you telecommute, that will really benefit you and your ability to be more present and check out when you need to, I think.
They can listen to Holy Chat in their way home, and then that's it. They forget everything about it because these two idiots are talking about nonsense. So there you go.
That's right. And it's great way to check them out. It will only ever make you a better human. So, we talked a little bit about family systems, and one of the things that we want to remember too is that there's social pressures on us and how we manage our family. You can live in a culture that's, very big on physical discipline and spanking, or vice versa, a culture that's completely opposed to that. You might be in a societal culture that's big on sort of soft parenting or other parenting strategies. Maybe you feel like it's never okay to raise your voice in certain homes or societies or cultures, and in other places it's normal to yell at your kids. And so it's important to know the waters in which you're swimming and know what your values are in comparison, and know what kind of pressure is being put on you and whether that's good pressure or bad pressure. Because sometimes it's good to have that peer pressure of, hey, don't hit your kids. Oh, yeah, thanks. That's a good idea. We don't want to do that, right? But then sometimes peer pressure is not as helpful because you feel like you're keeping up with the Joneses and your kids have to have certain clothing or shoes, or you got to drive a certain car to drop them off in the car line. Those are unhealthy pressures, and it's good to just take an inventory of where am I feeling pressure and where is it good pressure or unhealthy pressure. Have you ever had those feelings?
Oh yeah, definitely. As a person of from another culture and another country, yes, those cultural things definitely weigh in. And I have to also come to I don't know if it were terms, but to kind of figure it out as to okay, what I learned, what needs to be refrained, what needs to be brought in, or completely abandoned. So, there's things that I have to figure that one out myself, as I said, as a person who comes from another place in another, as you say, societal pressures and societal norms and expectations. So yes, how children behave in Mexico is completely different from here in the expectation of parents and everything. So yes, I have to adapt, transform, and let go of some things. Not all, but some things. It mainly was more reframing and rephrasing. So,
Oh,
but
that's
some
really
let go.
no, that's very helpful, I think. So, and in this world too, families look very different and diverse today. When we were kids, you kind of had a traditionalist kind of nuclear family, and there was a male and a female and two kids, and that was kind of the classic, maybe a dog or a cat, and you had your home, kind of the Leave It to Beaver model of family. And today, families look incredibly diverse. Grandparents are some of the most common parents today, biological grandparents. You have adoptive families, foster families. You have people who are in relationships just not married at all, but have kids together. You have divorced people who are raising kids and co-parenting. So there's just such diverse family systems now that in some ways you feel like you're trying to figure it out on your own, but there are kind of universal values that you can buy into. We as Christians maybe have a bad reputation for how we've treated families that don't look like the classic traditional family. And I hate that because we have so much to offer every kind of family in terms of love and justice, mercy and forgiveness. And, at the end of the day, in my family, you had talked about wanting God to judge you by being a good dad and a good husband. I always think, I don't care if my kids grow up to be a mechanic, a dentist, an artist, a stay-at-home parent. What's important to me is that they grew up with a kind of character that's love and compassion and mercy and strength, but the kind of strength that comes from that peace that we're talking about. And so, how do you raise kids and have a family culture that promotes your values, even in the face of a culture that maybe doesn't seem to value those things? There's a lot of bullying in schools and in workplaces too, and there's a lot of political upheaval and discomfort. So, how can your family be a light in a dark place? And that's really what it comes down to for me and my values.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I agree with you. And so, how can we be people of peace? And I'm with you in the sense that if doesn't matter what they do, for life, it's if they can be joyful, content, and compassion providers, compassion givers, peacemakers, that would be achieved. Goal achieved for me. So, yay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, good. Well, next time we are going to go down even another level, and probably the level that you can have the most control, but often feel the least in control, and that is the self, to have peace within yourself. So we hope you'll tune back in next time as we share moving from peace in our family down to peace in our heart. We hope you have peace in your hearts this week as you navigate this crazy world. Carlos, I'm signing out. How about you?
Live long and prosper.
That's right. Amen. See y'all later.